Yo, what's good, boys? We are back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys, and today I'm going to be updating my outfielders tier list. So we've done infield, we've done our pitchers. Now it's time for our outfielders. Something that'll be a little different here is there won't be any timestamps because pretty much every outfielder can play every other outfield position. There's some exceptions to that, like if somebody's secondary is in the outfield, you might not want to put them in an outfield spot that they don't have as a secondary. But for the most part, all outfielders can play all outfield positions. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the content, whatnot, like, subscribe, all that. Let's go ahead and just hop right into it. So Michael Garcia, been asked a ton about this card. I think he's like C tier. I mean, if you pulled this card and you can sell him for 35K, I'm selling him for 35K. Doesn't really seem like a 35K card to me. I think he's like 90 to like 100 contact to like 70-ish power. Just not a crazy card by any means. Doesn't really profile amazingly as like an outfielder either. So he's kind of whatever. I don't think he's like DH material because he won't be that bad defensively, but he's not great. Dylan Cruz, cool card if you're still on All-Star. Objectively, there's nothing like super wrong with the card, but he's just outdated. Like, this is a day one card. This card was available as soon as the game came out. Even in early access, he was available. So are we really surprised that he's dated at this point and objectively F tier? Not really. Marte, B tier. As a center fielder, he's probably like C tier, but I think the ball knowers will put him in like left or right field, where it is a technical out of position, but it's almost more like a secondary where like you can play a lot of shortstops at second base, you can play a lot of second basemen at like third base, stuff like that. It's kind of something like that where he'll play a okay left field and okay right field. Yeah, since he's out of position, there might be like a 1 in like 100 chance that he drops a fly ball hit to him. But for the most part, he's pretty good, and it's Marte. So switch hitter, like mid 80s, mid 90s stats in like every category. Always getting a good inside edge, has crazy quirks, switch hitter, great swing. That being said, I think he's objectively way better at second base, way better at shortstop. Not really an outfielder. If you had to make it work, you can, but not really an outfielder. Josh Smith, first like DH tier guy, where I believe he has left field as a secondary, but he's already so bad defensively, I just probably wouldn't mess with it. If you really want to work this card in, probably DH. Objectively, probably like third base, but you know, in terms of this list, he would be a DH if you're running him in, if your alternative is to run him in the outfield. All right, so Ohtani. A lot of people are going to think S tier for this. For me personally, the defense has been bad for him. The speed kind of helps make up for the speed, and the arm strength kind of help make up for the bad reaction at times. But for me, he's also a platoon guy, where I get it if you bought him for 500, 600, 650,000 stubs and you want to use him full time. Objectively, he's not the worst against lefties. He does have crazy quirks. So you can, but I think in the ideal circumstance, he is like the best platoon right fielder in the game. So that's how I'm going to rate him. If you can guarantee him at bats against righties, S tier. But you can't always do that. So I think he's A tier. I think he's a really good option. And I think the best team in the game, he has an argument to start in right field, but he probably won't finish the game in right field. Christian Campbell, F tier. Just outdated. I love his swing, and I cannot wait for him to get a new card. But you look at this card, stats aren't super crazy other than power. It was generational power for when he came out as a second baseman. But all of his other stats have aged pretty poorly, and you'd be running him in the secondary. So still a solid card, but not somebody I would be recommending people to have in their outfield at this point. Trade all. C tier, objectively, like stat wise, he's probably B tier. But he always kind of has like not the best swing in the world. And he's just really overpriced. So whenever rewind packs come out, I believe he was a BR card. So whenever those rewinds kind of get put in the multiplayer path, cool, nothing wrong with them. But for like 70, 80K, what he is now, I would steer clear. You can go get Springer for like 40 right now, I think. So that's probably a better use of your stubs. Wholeness, I get him and like Whit Merrifield are pretty similar, where they both like have pretty good swings, some pretty decent quirks, I believe. And they're just like pure defensive righty contact hitting center fielders. So if you don't want to run PCA, maybe you have too many lefties already in your lineup, something like that. These are kind of your next tier of like budget defensive center fielders. But I think I'd probably rather run PCA than both of them. And I would definitely rather run the new Victor Scott than both of them. So C tier, but the bat's more like D tier, F tier, and it's just kind of the defense carrying them. Javi, awesome card. Would I put him in the outfield? Now, he might have like a Marte thing going where you probably could live with him playing left or right field for you. But like shortstop, third base, second base are all weaker-ish positions anyway. So if you can't work him in at one of those positions, I don't think the outfield is your solution to have Javi in the lineup. Luis Rengifo, A tier. I think you can't really argue with the bat. You're talking about like probably, it depends. I think he has less power than Polanco, but his contact's a good amount better, and I think his clutch is better. So it's almost like a left field Polanco, where the defense isn't going to be great. It's actually probably going to be worse than running like Polanco or Rengifo at second. But the bat is just always going to be crazy because it's a switch hitter. He hits lefties better than righties. You see mostly lefty starters. So he is a dog. Does he fit on the best team in the game? Probably not. And he'd probably have more of an argument at like second base. Grisham, B tier. Reminds me of another Yankees like monthly card. His swing reminds me so much of Matt Carpenter, it's not even funny. But objectively, not the best outfielder in the world. He's a primary center fielder with no secondary, so you're going to take a pretty big fielding hit, but his fielding's already pretty high. His reaction's already pretty high. So you can live with him in left, right field. That's going to be his best spot. Would I run him there over a lot of other guys? Probably not. But his swing is really good. I do concede that. Gavin Sheets, DH tier, I guess. He's like a platoon guy, and it would be a secondary for him, and he's already not like the greatest defensive player in the world. So by default, he's DH tier. He's like a platoon DH. So not really somebody even worth ranking. I almost want to put him in F tier just for that, but we'll just organize our DH tier, I think. Manny, still B tier. The defense isn't great. The arm strength is really good, but if you're still using Manny, I assume you have at least like 3-4 parallels on him, so it's not the worst defense in the world. And objectively, his swing, his quirks are still really good. So not the worst card in the world. The arm strength kind of helps offset some of the subpar defense, but he is getting more outdated. You can make an argument for maybe DH tier, but I think the arm strength kind of saves him. JD, very similar to Manny, where it's like he's more well-rounded. I think Manny probably has the better swing and better quirks, but JD's cool, and Manny has arm strength. So other than just pure hitting stats, Manny's the better card. But if you value the pure hitting stats more, JD's probably your guy. Maybe you can make the argument for DH tier, but he's not so terrible in left field. I don't think he's DH tier, but you could go either way. Winker, DH tier. He's definitely better than Gavin Sheets if you just need somebody to hit righties for you at either DH or like a bench bat spot. He's pretty good. Larry Doby, C tier. I think he's just dated at this point, where it's like not super fast, not the best defense, struggles to hit lefties in a meta where you see a lot of good lefty starters. He's fine objectively. Like, you can win games with Larry Doby playing your outfield. I think still his best spot is like second base, but he's here. Chris Bryant, B tier. I view him pretty similar to like Manny, where the clutch is really bad on Bryant. Some people will like his swing more. He's going to be a lot better defensively because of the 80 speed. So you could even think of running him in center field if you really wanted to. I think that'd be stretching it a little bit. But I actually like him more in like a corner outfield spot than I do at third base because of the speed. So pretty decent card. I'm not super high on the swing, but he is here. Tim Raines, B tier. I think you leave him in left field. I don't think you put him in center field because his reaction already isn't the greatest. But he's just a better version of like Merrifield, Wagner. If you want that contact hitting outfielder, he also has some quirks, so he can get some sneaky pop at times. But for the most part, you have to hit a perfect if you want a home run with him. But he's a sneaky good hitter. I think the best Tim Raines cards that we see are the ones that can play second base because that's historically a lower power spot. So he competes better at that position than he does in the outfield. But he's here, and if you just want a switch hitting option, or if you need like a speed demon, something like that, then he's there. And I think B tier is pretty fair for him. Taylor Ward, another B tier card. He's pretty comparable to like Manny and JD, where you're probably losing some bat with him because he just objectively does not have as much power as the other two cards, and he doesn't have the craziest quirks in the world. And I'm not personally a huge fan of his swing, but I believe he's faster than both of the other ones. He's going to technically play a better left field than Manny and JD. So you get a little more defense, probably a little bit worse of a bat, but nothing wrong with the card. Santander, A tier, still crazy. If you're on All-Star, if you're on Hall of Fame, you don't need another left fielder. Like, he's a stud. He's just getting cheaper, so he's even more like bang for your buck. Really good at first base, really good in left field, has some okay quirks, one of the better swings in the game, and he's a switch hitter. And his team boost is relatively easy to run now with Jeff Hoffman. You just kind of have to run like Yimi Garcia in the bullpen and some bench bats, or maybe like Bo Bichette. But pretty good card. Still a good card. This is like not a day one card because New Threads took like 2 weeks to come out, but this is like an early game card that has aged still really good. Ralph Kiner, C tier. It's just like super mid hitting stats. He's nothing crazy. If he had like +5, +10 on every hitting stat that he has right now, maybe you can make an argument for using him, but his swing's always trash. I think it's more acceptable this year than it ever has been, and I believe he's got some good quirks on him, but I'm not running him over any of these other guys. Jock. Jock's a DH, and he's the best DH in the game. You're basically getting Ohtani level hitting stats, if not better. You're losing out on some quirks, but I think Jock also has a better swing where he is. It's him and Jordan. They are the only two lefty DHs that I would seriously consider just leaving him for the whole game. Where even if it's like 8th inning, lefty against Matt Strahm, Randy Johnson, name your lefty. You have to have an internal dialogue about if you're going to leave them in or if you're going to put in like a Justin Turner to hit for him. So I think there's something to be said when you're in that spot about how good this card is. Lou Brock, C tier. I mean, just doesn't give you what a traditional Lou Brock card gives you. So some people will like that. I think historically people that use Lou Brock just want to cheese and run on the base pass. This card's not fast. So the way this fits in for people, I would imagine, is if you love Lou Brock's swing, this is your perfect Lou Brock. But if you're somebody that just used him in the past because he was a fast lefty that had okay defense and had some pretty good quirks, this probably isn't your Lou Brock. Bader, B tier. I view him as just a better like type Tyler O'Neill from the start of the year. Like the new threads, Tyler O'Neill. If you like that card, you're probably gonna like Bader. They're very similar. Where Bader is not a center fielder for once, he's a corner outfielder. So if you're leaving him in, I believe he's primary left. If you're leaving him in left field, cool. I think you can't really go wrong with him. Solid card. Colton Cowser, not the same story. I mean, a lot of these guys are like center fielders. I mean, if you're comparing like running Javi in a corner outfield spot and Colton Cowser, give me Javi every day of the week. So I think that's the tiebreaker. Puts Cowser in F tier, just not a good card. Like he's not even really a DH because his clutch is bad. So there's really not a lot to like about this card. All right, so moving on. Jason, first S tier card. Defensively, he's got some bricks floating around out there. He does not get the best jump a lot of the times. It does get better as you put parallels on him. I have noticed that because you're talking about the difference between, I think, 71 speed and 76 speed, which is pretty big. And I've noticed he gets a lot better reactions after he gets some parallels on him. Obviously, a lot of that is still RNG, so take it with a grain of salt. But you're getting a switch hitter with a decent swing. I wouldn't say it's great. It's a little bit delayed. It's like, I would compare his swing to like Ted Simmons, but a little bit better. To where it's not my favorite swing in the world, but since he's a switch hitter, it's still really good. And he's a little deficient against lefties. He's close to like Jock Peterson against righties. Like against righties, he legitimately has some like Jock Peterson, Yordan Alvarez, Corey Seager type aura floating around where it's like almost guaranteed home run, it feels like. Against lefties, a little deficient. Clutch is still really good. Overall, S tier card, I think the best free card we've gotten all year, and a card that should be starting in left field for pretty much everybody. Wyatt Langford, C tier, like it's a speedy defensive left fielder. So if you want to run him in center field, maybe there's some value to be had there. I think his swing is better this year. If you guys remember, we got that like cycle Wyatt Langford out of a chase pack either last year or the year before that, I forget which. I hated that card. I owned him and I bought him because I had more subs I knew what to do with. But he might be a program card, actually. He might not have been a chase card, I forget. But that card had a genuinely horrendous swing. This card, pretty good. Can't complain. But I think, the stats are just really lackluster on this card. Like, you're talking 70 hitting across the board. That's just, skipping a bound away from the Max Clark that we got at the start of the year. So, would not be dying to use this card. Masataka, DH. As far as a free DH goes, I think he's right under like Jock Peterson, where I think for me, Masataka's swing is probably better. I'm not the biggest Jock Peterson fan, but his stats just blow Masataka's out of the water. So I think for most people, Jock will be that guy. But Masataka's still really good. Like they're neck and neck. If you don't want to spend like 25, 30K, whatever Jock is now, Masataka can do that for you for free. Lourdes. I'm gonna be real. I don't see why you would run. I don't see why you would run him. I don't see why you would run Michael Garcia. I think both of them are just kind of, like there's just better options. I would rather run Javi out of position in left field than run this Lourdes that just can't hit one side of the plate. And I don't historically like his swing. He has like, imagine Nick Castellanos' swing, like that tall, lanky, like contact hitter type of swing, but worse. And that's pretty much what Lourdes gets like every year. So, not my favorite swing in the world there. Any boy, I think C tier. If he was like DH tier, I think he'd be somewhere between like Jesse Winker and Masataka. But I think his fielding's not bad enough to warrant him automatically going into DH when he can't play like any infield spots or anything. I also think it hurts him objectively as an outfielder. So you're probably never DHing this card. You're probably putting him in the outfield if you're using him, and his defense is going to be really bad. So I think C tier, just not really somebody that fits in the meta. Jordan, S tier. I thought about doing this a couple times. Jason Dominguez kind of made me stop, but objectively, if you want to run this Jordan in the outfield, and you even if you don't have parallels, if you have parallels, he's going to be even better. Not going to be the worst defensive card in the game. He's tall. A lot of tall cards just seem to, like, the reaction doesn't matter as much. Like with Judge, like, don't get me wrong, Judge gets absolutely cooked sometimes, but he also just gets a yellow sometimes, and he's just so tall that he just throws the glove up and doesn't matter. So if you enjoyed like the live series Jordan, this is, you know, another lefty that feels like an automatic home run, that has like every hitting quirk in the game, that has objectively a really good lefty swing where lefty isn't completely miserable with them. And the live series Jordan, I think, has like 70 power against lefties. This one has 90. So you can, as a DH, he's probably, I would take him, he would be the best guy in this DH tier. And I think if you run him in left field, he's also pretty decent in left field. So I think S tier. Stan the Man, C tier for this reason. It's like you're running a lefty that's going to be in a secondary because you're not going to run him in center field. So you're already at disadvantage if you load in against like Donaldson, Leiter, Randy, any of the big dog lefties. And he has like no power lefty. So I think his best role is as like a platoon outfielder that also doesn't play great defense. You're going out of your way to use this card. First base would definitely be his best spot. First base or like DH, but objectively, you can put him in the outfield. Not arguing it, just saying you probably shouldn't. But I mean, clutch is really good, contact's really good. So if you really need to, you can, but I don't think you need to. Yeah, Mickey's probably just F tier now. Like, if you got some parallels on him, cool. I think he has 74 clutch. I think he'll go like 79 or whatever. And some people enjoy Mickey swing. He has some okay quirks. It's nothing insane. But just another dated card where if you're like an all-star player, even certain Hall of Fame players, you can probably still get away with Mickey. But it's just a dated card that I don't think anybody should really be running at this point. Ken, my buddy Ken. It's between like A and B. I mean, it's like a low A, high B. So if you want to sit here and split hairs, you can. But I think that's where he's at. Where defensively, he's a little worse than what you probably want out of a center fielder at this point. But offensively, he's decent. Like against righties, a lot of times you're just hoping to either hit perfects or that the quirks will carry. But I have seen this card fly out quite a few times with like, I think he has 73 power against righties. So. But at the end of the day, it's still King Griffey. He still has the good Griffey swing, not like the rookie swing. And he still has pretty much every hitting quirk you would want. So that carries him a lot. He's still a really good card. And, you know, if he's batting 8th, if he's batting 9th for you, you got a pretty good lineup. PCA, C tier. I just don't really see a point in running him at this point anymore. Just because he is pathetic against lefties. Like 42 or 44 power left. I forget what it is. The clutch isn't even that good. Like the supercharged PCA, the live series was better than this card when he was supercharged. So he's still up there, and he's still the best defensive center fielder because everything's maxed and he's a decently tall player. But I want a little more than just a pure defensive center fielder. All right, so Brian Reynolds, I think he's like Griffey tier. I view them as pretty similar, where they'll play around the same level defense, and offensively, I could see both arguments. Like some people, King Griffey will probably be better, just because of like the swing, the quirks, the stats. And some people, Brian Reynolds will be better just because he's a switch hitter. So I think they're both pretty similar and they're both really good options. All right, who we got next? O'Neal Cruz. I think he's F tier. And the rationale behind this is just going to be because he's too good defensively to be DH tier worthy, but he's also a platoon center fielder. And there's not really, I can't really think of a righty defensive center fielder that you would platoon with him. If there was like a righty counterpart to him, I could kind of see it, I guess. But in his current state, he's more valuable as like a DH or even a shortstop. Like at shortstop, I can see the argument for him. In center field, it's just like, I don't really know what he's doing for you out there. If you want to argue, maybe C tier, but you should be platooning this card. Adolis, top of A tier. Card's really good. Doesn't have the craziest quirks in the world. I personally, again, do not enjoy his swing, but there are people that do. And he's got good enough reaction, good enough arm strength to where when you put him in left, when you put him in right, it's not going to be the end of the world. Jungo Lee, C tier. I don't see the point in this card. He has like inverse splits where lefty is going to be absolutely miserable for you. And I forget if he has more power. I think he has more power against lefties. I think he has like 70 power against lefties and like 40 against righties. It could be 50. Not 100%. Not 100% up to date on my Junko Lee, but his swing's really good, and he's not the worst card in the world defensively. But I think there's just better ways to go. Like Victor Scott, who I think I'm gonna put A tier, and the rationale for that is he is similar enough defensively to like running Merrifield, Honus Wagner, PCA, Junko Lee, like any of those more defensive oriented outfielders, and his bat's just going to be way better. It's not going to be awesome because I think he's sitting like upper 90s, 100 contact against both sides, decent enough clutch, and like 70-ish power, which is definitely not a world beater. But if the name of your game is defensive center fielders, I think he's going to be your best option. Not named Carlos Beltran, obviously. Byron, S tier. Again, not my most favorite swing in the world. There's a Byron fan club that loves his swing every single year. That's not me, but he has a bunch of good quirks. He has, I think, over 100 of every hitting stat with okay clutch. And he's not the worst card defensively. I don't think he profiles awesome as a center fielder, but you put him in a corner spot out of position, no complaints. Chris Taylor. He's like low B to like mid A. I think mid A is probably where I'll put him. Where he's kind of in between like a Victor Scott and Adolis, kind of, where like he doesn't really have the power that Adolis has, but he's going to be more like defensively similar to like Victor Scott. I don't know if that's a great comparison, but he gives you, he's a utility. He's a utility guy. He does a little bit of everything. Bernie, I think we're going to speed up because we're getting close to 30 minutes. C tier. Rationale here is he's way better as like a platoon outfielder or a DH. So you don't really get a ton of value out of a bad defensive center fielder that you're going to have to run out of position in a corner spot, and then he can't hit a home run against a righty. So he's better as a platoon. Springer, top of A tier. For some people, he'll be S tier. For me, it's similar to Byron, where I don't love his swing. Like, I'm way behind consensus on George Springer's swing. I've never loved it. And stat-wise, he's pretty good. I think he has some okay quirks, too. But I would just rather have Byron. If you're going to compare the two, I'd rather have Byron. with the exception of I think Springer has right field as a secondary, so he won't be as bad defensively. But even then, his reaction isn't great, so it's whatever. Cedric. I really don't know. I really don't know. This is a tough one. I think low A is pretty like relevant, like stat wise and stuff for him. But I think I'm gonna put him B tier because he's bad value. Like if you're going out your way to buy this card, I think he's bad value. So he's like an upgraded version of Trent Grisham. So if you think that makes him A tier, cool. I'd rather have Griffey in center field for the defensive upgrade and the swing. I'd rather have Chris Taylor in center field for the better all around card. I'd rather have Ryan for the switch hitting. I'd rather have Springer for the power. So it's like Adolis maybe has an argument, but I'm viewing Adolis more as like a right fielder that will have really good reaction and stuff in right field. So I don't know. Beltran, best card in the game. The only card that gives you like PCA level defense in center field and brings a good bat. So S tier by default. It wouldn't even matter if he had a bad swing. Just being a switch hitter and having those hitting stats, really good. Tucker, DH, and he's just worse than like Winker, Smith, all of these guys. And he's got like 30 speed. So a card I would be phasing out personally at this point. Soto, I long to be able to put him back in S tier, but it looks like it's going to take a promo card because he's not exactly been tearing it up this year. So B tier, you kind of have to have him super fractured and have a good inside edge or be running the Mets boost, is how I feel about him now. Because I think he has like 68, 69 contact right, something like that. I think he's got like 80 clutch now, which is definitely not great. Still has one of the best swings in the game, still has a ton of good hitting quirks, but, gone are the days of him being like the best right fielder. Michael Trout, C tier, still has one of the best righty swings in the game, still has no quirks. He's still really bad contact wise, but if you're on All-Star, he's probably like a S tier card. Bobby Clemente, I think he's similar to Adolis, where obviously Adolis can play better defense. And I think Adolis is just statted better all around, but Clemente has some really good clutch. I think his swing is better for me. I would rather use this Clemente card than Adolis, even with the defensive lapses that I'm sure he'll have. Yelich, for me, he's DH tier, and he's just worse than all these other lefty DHs. Mike Stanton. Okay, if I put Chris Bryant in B tier, Stanton has to go B tier. I didn't want to put him here because his clutch is pretty low, his contact's pretty low, but he's pretty good defensively, and he's got great power. So I'll put him up in B tier, but just know I'm not exactly stoked about it. Kyle Stowers, DH or platoon, however you want to view him. I'm going to put him... Yeah, I'll leave him DH. Just know he's a DH. He's like a platoon guy in the outfield or a DH. Tony Gwynn, A tier. I like this card. I think he's sneaky good. He has not an amazing lefty swing, I wouldn't say, but it's good. Like, it's fine. And he's got some incredible hitting quirks because obviously Tony Gwynn. And then with the theme of Moonshot, he's just got crazy power. So really good card. Sal Frelick. I mean, I guess like he's in the bottom of this where it's like this is a defensive right fielder that's like a contact hitter. So not my cup of tea, not somebody I would be going out of my way to use. But he's here, I guess. Tatis, C tier. Sucks because, with the roster update and him going from like, what was he, an 87, 88, something like that, to a 92, you would think like, dude, this got to be one of the best cards in the game, one of the best live series. And he has the potential. Like, his swing is really good, but I mean, they just gave him one of the worst updates I've ever seen. Like, they gave him plus 10 speed, and they rebalanced some of his hitting, and you're pretty much either running the Padres boost or you're hoping for like a plus 10, plus 15 day out of him with inside edge against lefties. So he's like a platoon right fielder that hits righties better as a righty. So he just really doesn't have a spot. But I will concede his swing is really good. This is the highest I've been on Tatis's swing since like he was like Lightning player years ago. But yeah, the stats are the stats, and they're just not that crazy. If you want to argue for B tier, maybe because of the defense, but even then, he's a defensive right fielder. Like, is what is. I'll give Corbin Carroll S tier. I don't really personally want to do it. His swing isn't as bad as it has been traditionally. Like last year, he got the All-Star card that nobody used because his swing was trash. He's cool. He's a better Victor Scott against righties, but worse against lefties, I believe. His best spot is going to be you running him in center field in his secondary. Just he's gonna take a hit. He's not gonna be technically the best defensive center fielder in the game, but just the speed will just play. And I view him as like a way better version of PCA, whereas Victor Scott, I believe, isn't quite as fast. I view him as like a way better PCA. So I think if you don't have a center fielder that you love, I would put Corbin Carroll there for the most part. I think he's like the default answer. Josh Lowe, he's going down here with Colton Cowser, where I don't know why you would use this card, to be honest. Brent Rooker, DH tier. I think he's that bad defensively. And I think our only righty in the DH tier so far. Yeah, our only righty. So if you need a righty DH, one of your better options. Will Benson, also DH tier, and I think he slots in like here. I'd probably rather use him than Yelich. He has a really ugly swing in real life, so if it's as bad in the game, obviously I haven't gone out of my way to use a Will Benson card. But if it looks how it looks in real life, it might be kind of a gross swing. So warning to the wise there. And then our next card is Aaron Judge, and this is probably the hardest card to rank on the entire list, because some people don't mind that he's super tall. Other people can't hit with tall players. It's all just perception based. It doesn't actually change the way you hit. And at DH, objectively, he's better than Brent Rooker, but I think Rooker has the better swing. I think Judge might have him beat on quirks a little bit, and with the inside edge, and his stats will just be better. But I think if you're running Judge, most teams that are running Judge are probably running him in right field, and probably already have like a switch hitter at DH, like a Santana or a Posada or somebody like that. Or you want to run like Ohtani at DH because you're pitching him, or Ohtani at DH just because it'd be easier to like platoon at that point. So I think I'm cool with Judge, like A tier, where you realize the defense is going to be subpar, it's going to be substandard, but you're just playing him for the insane stats, the insane quirks, and the best power in the game. So that's what he's got going for him. I think he is all offense. He's a glass cannon, pretty much. But I think most teams that are running Judge probably aren't running him as a DH. I could be wrong about that. And there's a world where you just platoon like him and Ohtani, and that's the best way to use him. But that's just my thoughts. Is if you're running Judge, you're probably putting him in right field. Unless you have this guy who, value-wise, probably A tier, maybe even B tier, but just objectively, Acuna is Acuna. I love his swing every single year. Do I think this card's still overpriced, even at like 200K? Yeah, probably. You probably like to see him be more like 150, somewhere in that range. But he's also the best right fielder in the game. The reaction isn't great, and they just juiced like his arm accuracy for most of the increase in his overall. But he's still best right fielder in the game by default, because he's going to mash against Randy, he's going to mash against John Donaldson, whereas Corbin Carroll's just probably going over 3 with 3 strikeouts, maybe an infield single. So I think he wins best right fielder in the game. I think we'll organize some tiers real quick. Is this crazy? I don't think so, because he's a switch hitter and they're both kind of defensive liabilities. I think these two I have pretty similar. These two are basically tied. I think Carroll's the worst player in this tier, but these two are pretty much tied. And then we'll do our A tier if people are curious. I think Victor Scott's better than Griffey. I think Judge is the worst player here just because defensively you know he's going to be terrible and you're just hoping the bat overtakes that. I think Santander is like probably here. Adolis for me is probably like here. That's pretty similar. Probably rather use Brian Reynolds and Clemente. And I'd be down to use Rengifo over Clemente as well. And then, yeah, guys, that is our outfield tier list. So a longer one. I included more cards. And to be honest, probably some irrelevant cards that shouldn't have been on here. But I did want to make sure to rank all the Team Infinity guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, if you did, leave a like, subscribe. Till next time. Peace.